So, hi everyone, this is our group 3 videos, and this is chapter 14 and 15. The first one is chapter 14, which is consumer decision process and problem recognition. So there are four learning objectives in this chapter. The first one is describe the impact of purchase involvement on the decision process. The learning objective two is explain the problem recognition and how it fits into consumer decision process. The learning objective three is summarize the uncontrollable determinants of problems recognition. And the last one, learning objective four, is discuss the role of consumers problem and problems recognition in this marketing strategy.
Now we move to the yellow one, describe the impact of purchase involvement on the decision process. The first, we define the types of consumer decisions. Purchase involvement is the level of concerns for or interest in the purchase process, triggered by need to consider a particular purchase, and so it is a temporary state influenced by the interaction of individual, product, and situational characteristics. And now I gonna explain to you the figure 14.1 now. We have three types of decision making: nominal decision making, limited decision making, extended decision making. Nominal decision making involves minimal decision making effort, often based on habit and without considering alternative options. It occurs when there is low involvement in the purchase. There are two categories of nominal decisions: brand loyal purchases and repeat purchases. Brand loyal purchases occur when a consumer has previously gone through an extensive decision-making process and selected a preferred brand. They continue to purchase that brand without further consideration, driven by brand loyalty and emotional attachment. Repeat purchases occur when a consumer believes that all options in a product category are similar and not of great importance. They repeatedly purchase a specific brand, such as Del Monte ketchup, without strong comment. A challenge to their choice may lead to a limited decision process before deciding on a different brand. Limited decision-making involves a moderate level of decision-making effort, with internal and limited external research. Consideration of the few alternatives and simple decision rules based on a few attributes, post-purchase evaluation is minimal. Too. It falls between nominal decision-making and extended decision-making. In its simplest form, limited decision-making is similar to nominal decision-making, where minimal information is sought and little consideration is given to alternatives. It can also be driven by emotional and situational needs, such as trying a new brand out of boredom or considering others' behaviors as factors in decision making. Extended decision-making involves a high level of effort and engagement in the decision-making process. It includes extensive internal and ex- external information search, complex evaluation, and multi-alternatives, and significant post-purchase evaluation. It is typically associated with high-involvement purchases like homes, personal computers, and complex recreational items. Problem recognition is the first stage of the decision process, followed by the remaining stages that will be discussed in subsequent chapters.
And next, we will talk about the learning activity 2, explain the problem, recognize and how it fits into the consumer decision process. And this is the process of problem recognition. In the figure 14.2, consumer desire are thought to be a result of the desired lifestyle of the consumer and the current situation, time versus physical surrounding, and so forth. As described in chapter 13, thus a consumer whose self-concept and desired lifestyle focus on outdoor activities will require frequent participation in such activity. A current situation of new snow in the mountains or warm weather at the beach would tend to increase that person's desire to be engaged in outdoor sports. Problem recognition is the first stage in the consumer decision process. Problem recognition is the result of a discrepancy between a desired state and an actual state that is sufficient to arouse and activate the decision process. An actual state is the way an individual perceives his or her feeling and situation to be at the recent time. And finally, a desert state is the way an individual wants to feel or be at the recent time. And the next is the type of consumer problem. We have two types: active problem and inactive problem. In the active problem, we want the consumer is aware of or will become aware of individual the normal cost of event. And marketing strategy only require marketer to convince consumer that its brand is supervisor solution. In active problem, is one of which the consumer is not aware. A marketer must convince consumer that may have the problem and that the brand is superior solution.
So next we're gonna talk about learning object 3, which is uncontrollable determinant of and problem recognition. So the uncontrollable determinant, which refer to the factor that cannot be controlled that influence consumer perception of the problem and how they react to the world, which include factors like gender, age, social class, life experience, and more. And the effect can be subtle but significant. So here are the non-marketing factors that affect the problem recognition. So three factors are often beyond the direct of the influence of the marketing manager are previous influence, past decision, and prior decision. So we have here is previous influence is to become a homeowner, which may trigger the desire for numerous home and garden items. The second one is past decision, which may also deplete purchasing power with the result that fewer problems are recognized or are assigned sufficient importance to the trigger action. And the last one we have is the prior decision, which can influence the future decision even within the same category. Like we said on the last part about the prior decision, which is the element that can influence the future decision even within the same category. Like for example, the consumer, they get tired of food items such as cereal and pretzel, not because they don't like the brand, but because from a sensory taste standpoint they become bored of the original flavor. So they solve this problem by the variety seeking. This variety seeking, which is when the consumer switch to the other product. So, which is this one is like the one of the most challenging challenge to the marketer. So the brand, if the brand can offer the variety to the consumer, they will switch to the different option but stay still loyal to the brand. Like for example, Fruit Loops, they offer like a range of different options of flavor for consumer to choose so that they don't get bored or have to stick with the original flavor. So we have here is individual development. As when the individual gains skill, their desire relate to those skill change. Like for the beginning skier, musician, and gardener, they typically desire product and capability that will no longer be appropriate as their skill increase. And the second one is emotional and psychological development, which is the study about how emotion and psychology affect the consumer decision. Like for example, like recent concern about cyberbullying have led Facebook to develop a campaign called Mean Stink in an effort to get younger to realize that the seriousness of hateful word and about other on social media. And the last one we have is government agency and various consumer group, which is also actively attempt to trigger problem recognition, often in relation to the consumption of the various product, like for example, the warning label on alcohol and cigarette are two examples of these type of effort, as are anti-smoking campaign and campaign that stress the danger of drinking and driving will alert the consumer to like limit their consume on the on purchasing the product like alcohol or cigarette.
So this is my part, which is marketing strategies and problem recognition. So first of all, the marketing managers have 4 concerns related to problem recognition, which is discovering the consumer's problem, responding to consumer problems, helping consumer to recognize the problems, and the last one is suppressing problems recognition. So first of all is discovering consumer problems. We have part A, which is activities and products analyze. Activities and products analyze mostly focus on particular activities, attempt to determine what problems consumer encounter during performance of the activities. So for example, they use surveys or focus group to determine consumer wants and needs. Customer with damaged hair find a brand which can recover their hair, which is Dove, is the example for this part. And the product analysis is similar to activity analysis, but examines the purchase or the use of particular products and brand. So the next part is problem analyze. So it's gonna start with problems and ask respondent to indicate which activities or products or brands are associated with those problems. So for example, a study dealing with taste in beverage problems could include questions such as brand A beverage is too sweet, or it is not sweet enough, or it is too sour. So that is the problems that customer face, and the firms need the respondent for these problems. So next we're going to move to human factors research, which is determine human capabilities in areas. And these areas such as visions, strength, response time, flexibility affect on these capabilities of lighting, temperature, and sound. This type of research sometimes identifies functional problems that consumers are unaware of. And the last one is emotion research markets. So a research on a role of emotions in problems, recognitions, and resolution. Common approaches are surveys, focus group research, and personal interviews that examine the emotions associated with certain problems. So for example, researchers are beginning to examine how consumers cope with negative emotions associated with a product or a service that they are not meet the demand. So move to the second part, which is responding to consumer problems. Once a consumer problem is identified, the manager may structure marketing mix to solve the problems. This can involve developing a new product or altering an existing one, modifying channels and of distribution, changing pricing policy, revising advertising strategy. Each firm must be aware of the consumer problems it can solve, which consumer have these problems, and the situation in which the problems arise. And the third part is helping consumers recognize problems. So we have the generic versus the selective problems recognition. So move to the generic problems recognition. It's generally a firm will attempt to influence generic problem recognition when the problem is low of importance and one of the following conditions exist. The first one is it is early in the product's life cycle, or the second one is the firm has high percentage in the market. The third one is external research after problems recognition is apt to be limited. And the last one is this industry-wide cooperative effort. So next one is selective problem recognition. Firms try to cause selective problems recognition to gain or maintain the market share, whereas increasing generic problems recognition generally result in expanding the total market. So we gotta move to approach to activating problems recognition. Firms can attempt to influence the size of discrepancy by altering the desired state or perception of existing state. Other firms can also attempt to influence the perception of importance of existing discrepancy. So the next one is the timing of problems recognition consumer. They recognize the problems at times when purchasing a solution is difficult or impossible. So for example, we are sick, we want a cold medicines when we are sick, but we don't want to go out, like driving to a store, riding motorbike. So in some instance, the marketers attempt to help consumers to solve their problems after they arise. So for example, Pharmacity makes home deliveries for these problems. And the last one is suppressing problems recognition, competition, consumers organization, environmental agency occasionally introduce information in marketplace by triggers problem recognition that particularly marketers would prefer to avoid. For example, Milo advertisement show that their milk can give children energy in a day. However, in the bottle of milk, they also warn that do not drink more than 3 bottles of milk per day.
Thank you to your presentation, and we now move to chapter 15, Information Search.
So there are 4 learning objectives in this chapter. The first one is describe the impact of purchase involvement on the decision process. The learning objective 2 is explain the problem recognition and how it fits into consumer decision process. The learning objective 3 is summarize the uncontrollable determinants of problems recognition. And the last one, learning objective 4, is discuss the role of consumers problem and problems recognition in this marketing strategy.
And in this chapter, we have to firstly research about the types of information consumers search for. When a consumer decides to purchase a product, there are 3 requirements. First is about the evaluated criteria. For example, when you want to purchase a sunscreen, what are the features of that sunscreen, such as SPF, price, structure, brand, or ingredients, and these are the evaluated criteria. Then you will search for the external ones, such as friends' advice, KOL review, or recommendation from beauty blogger.
So next up, let's talk about the marketing strategies based on the information search patterns. So first of all, we have the maintenance strategy. So this is a strategy which is to maintain the purchase behavior of the consumers. So this usually occurs if the brand is purchased habitually. And in this strategy, marketers have to maintain the attention and avoid out-of-stock situations. An advertisement that makes the feeling and the idea of the consumers stronger. Next up, we have the disrupt strategy. So this is a strategy to disrupt the existing decision pattern. So it needs to be done when the consumers do not consider alternative brands or external information in choosing the product. Attracting advertisement could work in this case. In particular, this kind of advertisement can make the consumers consider more about the information and the brand's alternative. And next up, we have the capture strategy. So this is a strategy to capture as large as a share of purchases as practical. So limited decision making generally involves a few brands that are evaluated on only a few criteria. For example, the price and the availability. So consumers often search for information at the point of purchase or in readily available media prior to purchase. So in this, the marketer needs to know where they search and what information they are looking for.
So we have three strategies here in marketing and sales. So first is intercept strategies. So in terms of marketing and sales, a intercept strategies is a tactic where a company capture potential customer attention during the key points in their buying journey, often through advertisement or maybe promotion, and it's aimed to influence their decision-making process, especially when they are researching or comparing products. Okay, come along to the second one is preference strategies. A preference strategies is a marketing in the marketing is all about the understanding what your customer like and want. It is a blend to adjust your product, service, and how you can talk to customer based on their preferences, and this help to make your businesses more successfully, and because it meets your customer need and want and desire. And lastly, we have acceptance strategies. So an acceptance strategies is somehow like preference strategies. So, but however, it gets trickier because the people who you buy trying to reach they aren't actively looking for your information about your brand. So, beside doing what you do in the preference strategies, you need to find way to craft their attention and get them interested in your brand first.